I'm Keitha Booth, and I lead the New Zealand Government Open Data Program, which is based at Land Information New Zealand, but which covers all of government data. And I'm just going to give you a little description of our policies, and then show you some well-used popular sites that users are keen on, government data sites. And then Adam Hutchinson from Mogeo will tell you about his apps that he's developed for government agencies. And Tracy Parsons and Malcolm Flattery, sorry Malcolm, will then talk to you about NZTA, and then we'd like to hear some examples from you and of course questions. So, Cabinet's decisions in 2010 and 2011 were very clear with respect to information management. Government departments are directed, and other parts of the public sector are invited or encouraged to release high-value public data for reuse. And that's in formats that people are able to use, particularly machine-readable. And at the same time, they must be licensed for reuse in accordance with the New Zealand Government Open Access and Licensing Framework, which uses Creative Commons licences. Government information must be managed in accordance with the Data and Information Management Principles, and the direction regarding the high-value public data was a declaration by the Minister of by Cabinet by the Minister of Finance. And all of these data sets must be released up on data.gov.nz. Now, who does not know of it? And please be honest, because I'm really interested to know. Quite a few of you don't know of it. It isn't well known, so I really do want to know that. Thank you. Now, Cabinet's expectations were very clear. They expected data reuse would have impact on the economy, on society, that there would be improved efficiencies, and that the release would illustrate government's openness. And we have to look at the realisation of those benefits after 4 years. It was felt there would be a 4-year time to enable that cultural shift to be effected. And you will have heard the Minister say that we're 4th in the Open Data Barometer, 4th out of 77. We were pretty proud of that, but we can do better. So just showing you some sites. We all know how well this one has been used over the last 3 years, GeoNet, and it's been improved based on user demand as well. It's a great example of open government data. You all use GPSs on your phones. A lot of that data is from LIN's data service. The land cover database, that's used for environmental monitoring, forest and shrubland inventory, biodiversity assessment, oops, that's my time up, trend analysis and infrastructure planning. Sorry, turn it off. Rural evaluation, they add value to government data. They sell reports to people who are wanting more information about property. You can get that data for free, but they sell. The really exciting example of open government data is New Zealand legislation. Online for free, if you wish to buy, you buy and pay from a commercial agency, you print for free. And some departments have their own apps, which they see meet a business need, and the Ministry for Information has its NZ Schools app. High demand for aerial imagery, particularly post-Christchurch earthquakes, and the North Island imagery has recently been released by LIN's South Island Coming. And data journalism is becoming much more noticeable in New Zealand. We just heard a reference to from the man from the Salvation Army about a report on the New Zealand Herald. Well, they're really leading with their journalism, where they're looking at New Zealand data and doing some good investigative journalism. This is an example of NCEA. And then that got picked up by another person from Maori Geek and did some analysis of the deciles. So those are just to show you the breadth of government data, which you may not think in the context of official statistics, but that is government data. And I'll now pass you over to Adam Hutchinson from Mogeo.
Hi everyone, my name's Adam Hutchinson. I'm from a small startup app development company called Mogeo down in Christchurch. So we have been in operation for around 2.5 years now. 50% of the stuff that we do is on contract for local and central government. The other 50% are fun sort of things. and I'll give you an example of around 5 of these apps. So the first app that we developed, I don't know if you remember, around the time of the Rugby World Cup, there was a lot of media attention around freedom camping and the fact that, well, I mean, the reason was they didn't have access to find the nearest toilet or dump station on their travels. So saw an opportunity and developed a free iPhone and Android app called Campermate. So just probably end of 2010 started door knocking with councils to get some of their data sets, public toilets, so forth. Built up an initial data set of 6,000 GPS coordinates which were available through the app. Very difficult to get that data in the first place, so what we introduced probably about just over a year and a half ago, if you look down the bottom right of the screen, is add a location. So we started crowdsourcing new locations from the users themselves. So effectively we have an army of people out there helping us build this database. So over the last year and a half we've built it from 6,000 GPS coordinates up to 13,000, which is fantastic. And so over the summer we've seen some amazing growth. We've now had 26,000 downloads. And just the integrity of that data now is just, it's creating a network effect. So more and more people are drawn into the app because of the quality of that data. So the process is, just give you a quick heads up on the crowdsourcing process here. They tap at a location and they submit a little bit of data and their location, and that comes through to be independently verified. I use Google Street View and see something like this. So someone submitted a water source. You can see there, it's pretty, you can identify as a water source. So yep, tick approve, and that goes to the database. Public toilets. You know, the councils didn't have this information. There are a lot of toilets that the councils don't have and don't know about. We've actually built the most comprehensive database of travel GPS coordinates in New Zealand. So just through crowdsourcing and also a lot of door knocking as well. But so this is an example of the app, Campermate. You load it up, determines your current location. Menu on the side there. You've got all that stuff: petrol stations, supermarkets, etc. This is going through the process of adding a new location. So. Well, that was the. So, oh, sorry. Okay, New Zealand Fishing Rules app. So this was on contract for the then Ministry of Fisheries, now Ministry for Primary Industries. Goes through, selects which of the 6 fishing regions you're in. For that region, how big each species needs to be and how many you're allowed to catch. There's also a little educational video here which will pop up soon, and basically educates people about how to release undersized fish, for example. So once you've got them in there, it's about educating them about some safe practices. So that's had 35,000 downloads now in New Zealand. The last one is the pest. This is just another example, pest identification. This is a prototype for MPI, and it's basically just using smartphone technology to make this information easier to access. So it's as a prototype, it's not public. I don't know if it will go public, but it's for their staff to identify what the pests are, and also user-generated content as well. So if you've got a staff member that's quite knowledgeable about a certain pest, they can add a little comment there as well. Some other examples as well. Product recalls. So basically, again, using smartphone technology, 54% of Kiwi adults now have a smartphone, so and it's growing. So you've got a lot of people with smartphones. It's about, you tap on a few buttons and you can find out what the latest products that have been recalled. That's taken from a feed from the MPI website, which is public. And also Ministry for Business and Innovation, I think, have a feed as well that we're getting the products from. ACVM app, another prototype. It's about just identifying or getting more information about certain chemicals. Marine Mate's quite an interesting one. I'll just see if I... Oh, okay, sorry, I don't get into that. But basically, Marine Mate was on contract for the Waikato Regional Council, and they saw the opportunity after, I guess, seeing about the Fishing Rules app and how well that's done. Oh, by the way, the Fishing Rules app, that's contributed to a 30% decrease in the amount of recreational fishing prosecutions, so it's creating some real world results, not just, you know, nice to have an app sort of thing. So Marine Mate is based on a similar idea that you're basically getting boating information through your smartphone. So it's identifying, it's a map-based app. It's showing where you are on the map, and it's showing, oh, okay, well, over here there's a 5-knot zone, you're not allowed to go over 5 knots. Here's a water ski access lane, you're only allowed to be water ski in this area. And it's also showing locations of boat ramps. And also through LINS, it's pulling some information from them about local notices for that particular region as well. So if a ship has lost an anchor, for example, in a certain area, it comes through as a local notice for that specific area. So it's giving location-based information. So, you know, location brings relevance, so it's more relevant to the user because it's telling them information about where they are here. So, yeah, I guess biggest thing with that. That project's probably, I think it's had around 13,000 downloads now. And I guess something that I've learned in with that initial CamperMate project and with MarineMate has been working with a number of local government organisations, and I guess the difference between the quality of data. Some councils have, for MarineMate, for example, you might just be given photos and have to sort of map some layers out of that, up until, they may have their own sort of KML files and GIS files. So there's quite a wide range anyway of the quality of the data. So a lot of work involved in just sort of massaging the data and making it fit to display on the apps. So, but moving forward, I think, some of this data can be made available a little bit easier. So, so thank you. I think I've got, just also on that CamperMate app, we're pulling, this is probably not a nice segue into NZTA, but we're pulling real-time road alerts as well into the app. So basically, if you've got a tourist coming into the country, they're travelling around, they can see that, if they're planning to take Lewis Pass through to Hamner Springs, for example, they can see that there's high winds and the road has been closed. And from what I understand, any delay that's going to take longer than 20 minutes will come through to the app. So, just a really nice way of using an open data source and feeding it into the right people. Another API that we're using for the CamperMate app is the locations of ice sites as well. So Tourism New Zealand have developed an API that can send the locations of ice sites. So as they have new ice sites getting developed, they basically just load it up through to their API and that comes through automatically. So, you haven't got a bunch of different apps that have their own sort of, master copy of these ice sites, and therefore it's Tourism New Zealand's job to update it on all these different apps. So a couple of nice examples of government organisations that are using APIs to do some really cool stuff with. So, and I'm on the receiving end of that data, which we in turn then feed it out to people.
Hi, I'm Tracy Parsons and I'm the Information Manager from NZTA, and I'd like to introduce my colleague Malcolm Flattery, who works in the Highways and Network Operations part of NZTA. So they're the people who commission and build and maintain the roads. So we've been doing open data for an awfully long time in NZTA. You've been hearing Keitha talk about some of the background to the open data movement, but in fact we've been doing open data since 2008, which is something we're really proud of. And we'd like to tell you about InfoConnect, which is our flagship open data initiative. And I'm going to pass you on to Malcolm, whose group it comes out of, and he's going to give you some more information.
Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies up front. I'm not actually the system owner, so I've sort of worked around a lot of systems that InfoConnect works with, but I'll do my best. So I presume you all can read, so that's all pretty good stuff up there. So the point of the whole InfoConnect was to provide...
Come back to the speaker because we're being recorded.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
And you can read it off there.
Yeah, okay. So we provide application developers a free access to traffic and road event information or data via our public-facing InfoConnect web portal. But you have to register for use, and we want people to add value. So we provide raw data in structured format via APIs, as Adam mentioned. And then people sign up terms of use and they repackage that data and republish it, adding some value. So, users are required to register and agree to NZTA terms and conditions and use. Basically, we're providing that information in good faith. So if people are using it and sort of diluting the value of that information, then we want to sort of cut them off midstream, because that sort of damages the NZTA brand, and we're sort of very risk averse, being sort of government. And the way we do that is sort of, and Adam probably correct me if I'm off path here, is that we include user authentication in the API streams, so that you may still be able to access the data, but if you're trying to call that data and bring it into your apps, it's not going to work, because we use a lightweight directory access protocol to use user authentication, and it's probably a bit more technical than it's probably required for this forum. So that's a very interesting little graphic there. So essentially down the bottom there, we've, if I can get this going, we've got all the information streams there, but that was sort of the original plan, to sort of get all those data streams together, and we haven't quite got that far yet, to be honest. At the moment, road detector information, we've got thousands and thousands of detectors on the Auckland motorway network that feed into InfoConnect. And we've also got sensors in the main in Wellington, which haven't been included in that. So that's an ongoing conversation in the NZTA about when, how we're going to do that. So that's on the list to do. And also the incident information, traffic information and planned roadworks to a certain degree are also fed into InfoConnect via our what we call our traffic road event information system, which essentially is a tool used by the business and by essentially our contractors on the road, because we're an outsourced sort of construction outfit. They record event information in the trace system, and I'll sort of the next slide you'll see I talk about near real-time data, because that data actually has to be verified by consultants or the police or fire service or whatever before we actually publish that information on our traffic information website, and also via InfoConnect for our developers like Adam to use. So the sensor data is pretty much comes via an application called SSDF, which is it's an acronym for Standard Sensor Data Format. So it all pops out in a nice XML structured format and goes into out of InfoConnect for our developers to use. And also the trace information via the website or remote access for our contractors. They put the data in there, and we publish it to the public once we actually verify that it's correct. Otherwise, we again, we're risk averse, so we don't want to sort of publish stuff unless we can verify that it's actually happening, because that'll dilute the value of the product. Cameras are already publicly accessible, so you don't actually need InfoConnect to access that data, and the actual streaming camera information which comes in the CCTV stream there is that's not accessible by InfoConnect. That's actually streamed to our DVTL application. So again, another project in the mix to get that into InfoConnect. And InfoConnect currently contains APIs, and we all know what APIs are now, covering areas such as scheduled roadworks, unplanned events such as flooding, crashes, snow ice, and planned events such as the old Round the Lake, Taupo race, Christmas parades, coast to coast, etc., etc. And also Auckland travel time information via the sensor data, and congestion information, and Auckland Harbour Bridge wind speed data via a relationship we actually have with the Met Service. They port that information into our traffic information website, and we also send it out to our developers. And in a couple of the major regions, we partnered with Auckland Transport in Auckland and Christchurch City Council on what we've called joint TOCs, which are joint traffic operations centres, to provide a one network view of the world. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but NZTA are primarily responsible for the state highway network, not local roads. So we're trying to partner up and go multimodal and get a one network view of the network. So we're starting to include journey time data from local roads in Auckland and also Wellington, because I don't know if you've ever driven around Auckland, but it's a bugger of a place to drive around, and we keep building these nice flash motorways, but then we push the problem onto the side roads. So we need to sort of measure the effect of that. And the NZTA will continue to form relationships and collaborate, because that's all what we're all about. So the drivers for InfoConnect. So the challenge is how to meet user needs, and technology, as we know, is continually evolving and at an increasingly faster pace. So NZTA realised that we're not developers, that's not our core business. We're here to maintain and build roads and provide raw data to people if they need to use it. So we need to stick to our core business and provide that operational information for free, and we've been doing that since June 2008. And also we want to support new services through the third parties that use this InfoConnect information, because in the early days we sort of talked about providing seeding money to help startups get involved, but we sort of haven't taken that through. So we actually need to sort of review the InfoConnect model going forward, because we haven't done any development with it since 2010, mid-2010, so it's in a bit of a hiatus at the moment. So for us, we saw an opportunity to prove the way traffic information is shared, and providing it to third parties have the time, the energy and the resources to develop phone apps or any kind of communication channel for distributing information. And it creates an exciting opportunity for new services for a range of organisations such as the AA and smaller developers who are prevalent in the iPhone and iPad applications such as Mogeo. So the objectives are aligned with our core business strategies and essentially, to provide information to enable customers to make informed travel decisions and by access to real-time, near real-time traffic information prior to and during their journey. And we found that sort of pushing information out really is the way to do it. And so for me, the objective really from a technical point of view is to provide timely and accurate traffic road and event information to third parties in standard XML format to a publicly accessible web format, web portal, and with that authentication that's required by signing up to our terms and conditions of use. It's not perfect, and we've actually had to fill the gap by creating an on-the-move application.
I'll just take over because we run out of time.
Oh, okay, cool.
So now we just want to talk about sort of, was it successful? And from our perspective, it's been extremely successful, and there's in expected but also unexpected ways. So you can, as you can see, there's currently 186 registered users, and they've developed 37 applications which are currently active. And so we sort of expected that would happen and hoped it would happen. And in the PowerPoint up, you can see some of the applications which are using that data. We've also found that internally it's supported the business case and driven some awareness and appetite to do more of this stuff within NZTA. There's also been some unexpected downstream use, which I guess is part of what Keitha wants us to talk about, which is the ANZ truckometer. Now, unbeknownst to us, ANZ saw this data that we were putting up and found that there was a direct correlation between vehicle flows and GDP. So they decided to use our data to produce a monthly, what they call the truckometer report, which is actually a measure of economic activity across the country. Now, I've got a copy of the truckometer report here, so I can read what they've put, which is what they've found is that there's a strong contemporaneous relationship to GDP with heavy traffic index, so that's the movement of freight. So there's a strong relation between freight movement and current GDP. But in terms of light traffic movement, so that's like the personal private cars, that there's a 6-month lead on activity as measured by GDP. So you look at what light vehicles are doing, and that's 6 months ahead of changes that are going to happen in the GDP. So this is like a really good open data story around you put your information out there, and people use it in ways that you just really couldn't predict they would ever use it for. Now, in case anyone's going to ask the commercialisation question, as far as we know, ANZ don't sell this. It's on their website, but I guess they think it's good for them in terms of their reputation and stakeholder relationship management. So in terms of what we've learnt from doing this, but there's obviously some project lessons, but also we've learnt that by good news stories around open data within an organisation builds an appetite to do more of this stuff. So we're still open. In the next year, we're planning to release or get ready to release a whole lot more information. We're looking at releasing more crash information. We're looking at releasing bridge height information. Hearing Adam's story reminds me that we're looking at also releasing amenity information. So that's when you're travelling, where the next rest stops. We are looking at releasing more traffic information, and then also we're looking at doing some more work on the policy framework within NZTA to make sure that the data we buy or pay for, because NZTA, a big part of what the business does is we invest in in local government and private sector to build and develop and maintain the network. So out of that investment, a lot of data is generated. So we're looking at what we can do so when we pay for stuff, that the data which is generated as a byproduct of that is also can be reused in an open data way.
I'd like, on your behalf, to thank the two speakers, and also to refer you to our website, ict.gov.nz, and you'll see a section called Open Data Program, and in there's 20 case studies that we've written about reuse of open government data, and that's the beginnings of our work looking ahead to that benefits realisation work that I was telling you about. They're really interesting. We've got one, we put one up about Mogeo last week, there's one up about camper mate, there's one up about marine mate, and there's another 17 odd studies there as well. So I'd encourage you to look at those. So thanks very much, and could you, with me, thank the speakers.